Have you ever found something that rewired your entire past? A receipt, a message, a name you didn't recognize? Maybe it was hidden in plain sight, waiting for the exact wrong moment to surface. I'm Helen Sinclair, 68 years old, married for 43 years to a man I thought I knew. One cracked phone screen destroyed everything I believed about my life, my marriage, and the woman who smiled at his funeral while planning to take it all. What was on that phone? And who sent the message while he was dying? Stay with me. Because what I found in the next 72 hours didn't just break my heart. It nearly erased my entire existence. My hand brushed cold glass in his jacket pocket as I straightened his tie one last time. The phone I'd never seen. The message preview that stopped my breath. The transfer is complete. He'll never know what happened. The funeral director waited by the door. Mourners filled the chapel behind me. Edward's business partners, our neighbors, contractors he'd worked with for decades. The organ hummed through the walls. Lilies choked the air, so thick I could taste them. I didn't cry out, didn't ask questions. I slipped that phone into my purse while my fingers smoothed his lapel one final time. The metal casket rail burned cold against my palm. Fabric rustled as I stepped back. My shoes clicked twice on the tile floor. "Mrs. Sinclair, whenever you're ready," the director whispered. I nodded, turned, walked to the chapel doors without looking back. When proof hides in plain sight, one blink changes everything. Subscribe so you catch what others miss. If you won't, tell me why below. I read every single reason. The service lasted 40 minutes. I heard none of it. That phone sat in my purse like a stone. The screen was cracked, a spider web across the glass. The lock screen glowed once when someone's elbow bumped my bag during communion. One unread message from it, sent at 9:52 a.m., March 19, 2024. The morning Edward died. I knew his passwords. He used the same one for everything, his mother's birthday. Never hid anything from me in 43 years. We shared bank accounts, email access, even phone codes. That's what I thought anyway. Before we continue, quick question. Where are you watching from right now? Drop your city or country in the comments and hit that subscribe button. I love seeing how far these stories travel. At the reception, Isabella Thorne approached me with a casserole dish and perfect sympathy. 39 years old, polished in a way that made you feel underdressed. She'd handled our estate planning 2 years earlier. I'd met her twice. "Helen, I'm so deeply sorry." She placed the dish in my hands. Her nails were painted dove gray. "If there's anything you need, paperwork, account access, anything, please call me. I have all of Edward's business files ready for review." I thanked her, said something about getting through the week first. She touched my arm. "Of course. Take your time. Everything's been handled." Handled. That word stuck. I drove home alone. Chesterfield County roads. Late March, cold. The phone sat on the passenger seat. I pulled into the driveway, killed the engine, and unlocked the screen with shaking hands. His mother's birthday. 6 digits. The phone opened. Text thread with IT went back 18 months. 18 months of messages I'd never seen. On a phone I didn't know existed. As the chapel door clicked shut behind me, I unlocked the screen with his mother's birthday. The password he used for everything. The thread with IT went back 18 months. 18 months. I scrolled to the beginning. January 2023. Isabella's first message. "Edward, I think we should discuss Helen's memory lapses privately. I've seen this before in my elder law practice. Early intervention protects everyone." My hands went numb. I hadn't forgotten anything. I volunteered at the food bank twice a week, managed our rental properties, kept the books for Edward's HVAC supply company. I was sharper at 68 than most people at 40, but Isabella had spent 18 months convincing my husband I was losing my mind. Pause. Write down ET and the date. 18 months. You'll need both. I sat in that driveway until the sky went black. The phone battery dropped to 12%. I read every message twice. By the time I walked inside, I knew 3 things. Isabella Thorne had gaslit my husband into believing I had dementia. She'd convinced him to sign documents protecting me. And Edward had figured it out the morning he died, 22 minutes too late. The coffee went cold in my hand before I remembered I'd poured it. The phone sat on his pillow where his head used to rest. I hadn't slept in 31 hours, 2 a.m., 3 days after the funeral. Our bedroom felt wrong. His aftershave still clung to the pillowcases. His reading glasses sat on the nightstand, folded, waiting. The closet door squeaked when the heat kicked on. Same squeak it had had for 15 years. We always said we'd fix it. I scrolled through messages until my eyes burned. Isabella sent articles, medical journals about cognitive decline, newsletters from elder care facilities. Each one included a note. Edward, this might help you understand what's happening with Helen. She'd twisted everything. The dinner reservation I forgot, I hadn't forgotten. Edward changed the date without telling me. But Isabella's text said she forgot again. This is textbook early-stage progression. The book club meeting I missed? I was at my sister's house in Norfolk that week. But Isabella wrote, spatial confusion, another red flag. Every text arrived while I was volunteering, gardening, living my sharpest life. She'd built an entire false timeline. Sent them during my Tuesday book clubs, during my Thursday shifts at the food bank, while I pruned roses in the backyard. Timestamps don't lie. She'd weaponized my calendar against me. Then I found the medical declaration, downloaded as a PDF, dated January 15, 2024. My name in bold at the top. Helen Sinclair shows progressive cognitive decline and is unfit to manage financial affairs. Recommended immediate asset protection measures for patient welfare. Signed by Edward Sinclair. Witnessed by Isabella Thorne, attorney at law. I stared at that date, January 15th. I was in Norfolk that entire week. My sister had knee surgery. I stayed with her for 9 days, cooked her meals, drove her to physical therapy. Edward signed away my competence while I wasn't even home. He declared me incompetent on paper while I was caring for someone else. Ever been erased on paper while living your sharpest life? Drop a heart in comment if this hits too close. The coffee mug slipped from my hand, didn't break, just rolled across the hardwood, spilling cold coffee in a dark line toward the door. I couldn't breathe right, not panic. Just this slow, creeping realization that my entire life had been rewritten without my knowledge. Isabella hadn't just manipulated my husband, she'd legally erased me. I opened Edward's filing cabinet at 3 a.m., pulled every folder, spread them across the floor, bank statements, property deeds, business licenses, insurance policies, looking for what else she'd taken, looking for proof of who I used to be before she turned me into an incapacitated beneficiary on paper. The bedroom felt smaller, darker. The bed we'd shared for 43 years now felt like a crime scene. I didn't cry. Couldn't. Crying felt like surrender. Instead, I took photos of every text message, saved them to a cloud drive with timestamps, downloaded the medical declaration, photographed the signature, Edward's shaky handwriting that proved his essential tremor, the same tremor he'd had for a decade. I built a file called Evidence, because if Isabella Thorne thought grief would make me weak, she didn't know me at all. Grief doesn't make women like me weak. It makes us forensic. The folder was labeled Estate Protection 2024. Inside, $1.2 million, 3 rental properties, and a business I'd helped build, all transferred to someone I'd met twice. Dawn light came through the office window. I'd been awake 37 hours straight. The filing cabinet sat open, every drawer pulled out. Contents scattered across the floor like evidence at a crime scene. Trust documents, 37 pages, printed, signed, notarized. I read every word. Special Needs Trust for the benefit of Helen Sinclair. They'd turned me into a charity case on paper. Isabella Thorne listed as sole trustee. full discretionary control over distributions, monthly allowances determined at trustees' discretion, managed care provisions, medical oversight requirements. I wasn't a wife. I was a patient. The trust held everything. Edwards HVAC Supply Company, the one I'd helped him build from a garage operation into a business serving contractors across 3 states, gone. Transferred January 15, 2024. 3 rental properties in Arlington. We'd bought them together in the 90s, renovated them ourselves, managed tenants for 20 years. Transferred January 15th. Investment accounts, retirement funds, life insurance policies, transferred, all the same date, January 15th. While I was in Norfolk taking care of my sister. Miss one signature, lose your entire life. Subscribe. I'll show you the red flags they hope you never learn. Still scrolling without subscribing? Comment why. I want to know. The legalese made my head pound. Incapacitated beneficiary. Diminished capacity. Protective oversight. Every phrase reduced me to something helpless, something that needed managing. But it was Edward's margin notes that gutted me. His handwriting, shaky from the essential tremor he'd had since his 50s. Blue ink, dated 2 months before he died. Protecting Helen's future. She can't handle this alone anymore. He'd believed it. Isabella had convinced him I was disappearing, that the woman he'd loved for 43 years was slipping away, that signing these papers was an act of love. She'd weaponized his fear and turned it into theft. I found the business transfer documents next. Sinclair HVAC Supply LLC, ownership transferred to trust. Isabella authorized to sign on all accounts, make operational decisions, hire and terminate employees. She'd already scheduled meetings with Edward's top clients, found those emails in a separate folder, ensuring continuity during this difficult transition, maintaining Edward's legacy. My name appeared nowhere, not as owner, not as operator, not even as a contact person. I'd been erased from my own life while volunteering at the food bank. The property deeds came next. Arlington Rentals. 3 units we'd bought with our first business profits. Deed transfers filed with Fairfax County. New owner, Helen Sinclair Special Needs Trust. Isabella Thorne, trustee. I didn't own my own properties anymore. The phone sat beside me on the floor, still open to Edward's final text thread with Isabella, sent 7:14 a.m., March 19, 2024, the day he died. Talked to Helen's doctor today. He said she's sharp as ever. No memory issues at all. What the hell have you done? I'm calling my lawyer Monday. My throat closed. He'd figured it out. Called Dr. Alistair Finch. Got the truth. I wasn't sick. Wasn't declining. Wasn't incompetent. Isabella had built the whole thing on lies. Edward's next message, 7:31 a.m. You manipulated me. You made me doubt my own wife. Everything gets reversed. Monday morning. Isabella's reply came at 9:52 a.m. Don't do anything rash. We can discuss this calmly. But Edward's heart attack started at 9:30 a.m. Phone records would later prove he collapsed during a client call at 9:27. He never made it to Monday. Screenshot that timeline in your mind. 22 minutes between his threat and her reply, while he was already dying. Isabella responded to a dead man, and then she moved forward with the theft anyway. I sat on that office floor until the sun came up fully. Files spread around me like a paper graveyard. My husband had died trying to fix what he'd been manipulated into doing, and Isabella Thorne was still out there, playing estate administrator, accepting condolences, holding my entire life in her hands. Not anymore. I picked up the phone and called the one person I knew would drive through the night for me, Leo Hayes, my nephew, paralegal in Atlanta. He answered on the second ring. Aunt Helen? My voice came out steady, calm, cold. I need you to come home, now, and bring your legal training, because I just found out I've been erased from my own life, and I need help getting it back. Leo walked through my door at 4 a.m., still wearing his courthouse ID badge. He'd driven 12 hours without stopping when he heard my voice crack. I met him in the driveway. He pulled me into a hug that smelled like highway coffee and courthouse paper. 29 years old, built like Edward used to be. Solid, steady, the kind of person who shows up when you call. "Show me everything," he said. We spread it across the kitchen table. Trust documents, text messages, medical declarations, property deeds, business transfers, the entire paper trail of my erasure. Coffee brewed while Leo read. His hands shook when he picked up the medical declaration, stopped shaking when he found the timestamps. "Aunt Helen." His voice went flat, that paralegal tone when evidence clicks into place. "These business transfer filings are dated March 18th. I leaned over his shoulder. "So?" "Uncle Edward died March 19th. He looked up at me. "She filed transfer paperwork with the Virginia State Corporation Commission 3 days before he was gone." The coffee pot beeped. Neither of us moved. Leo pulled his laptop from his bag, opened the Virginia SCC database, started cross-referencing filing dates. Business license transfer application, March 18, 2024. New bank account authorization, March 18, 2024. Registered agent change, March 18, 2024. "She was moving before he died," I whispered. "She was moving before she knew he'd die," Leo corrected. He kept scrolling. "Unless she did know." That hung in the air between us. Neither of us wanted to say it louder. Leo opened a fresh document, started building a timeline. 2 columns, what happened and when it happened. Left side, Isabella's actions. Right side, Edward's actual timeline. Dates lined up like evidence at trial. We worked until dawn. Highlighters, sticky notes, document scanner running hot. The kitchen table became a war room. Leo pulled up Isabella's law firm website around 6 a.m. "Elder law and estate planning," he read aloud, "specializing in dementia care transitions, compassionate guidance during difficult family decisions." I poured more coffee. Watched him scroll through testimonials. He stopped, clicked on a page, leaned back in his chair. "Aunt Helen, look at this." Client testimonials, 4 widows, all within the last 18 months, all praising Isabella's sensitive handling of their estates during unexpected loss. Clara Dubois, Silver Spring. Husband died suddenly, January 2023. Isabella helped me navigate complex financial decisions during my grief. Martha Gable, Alexandria. Husband died unexpectedly, June 2023. I couldn't have managed the estate transition without Isabella's expertise. Susan Holloway, Richmond. Husband died without warning, November 2023. Isabella protected my future when I couldn't think clearly. Diane Morales, Norfolk. Husband died suddenly, February 2024. Isabella's compassionate guidance gave me peace of mind. 4 widows. 18 months. All their husbands died suddenly. All listed natural causes. Leo closed the laptop, rubbed his face with both hands. "What are the odds?" he said quietly. 4 widows. 18 months. All natural causes. What are the odds? Comment your theory. I'm reading them all. I sat down across from him. My hands were steady now. Shock had burned off into something colder, sharper. "We need to find them," I said. "Those other widows. We need to know what she did to them." Leo nodded. "And we need a forensic accountant, someone who can pull metadata, track digital signatures, analyze document timelines." "You know someone?" "I know someone." He pulled out his phone. Zara Jones, Norfolk. Specializes in elder financial exploitation cases. If Isabella left digital fingerprints, Zara will find them. I looked at the papers spread across my kitchen table. Evidence of systematic theft, a pattern that might go back further than 18 months. "Call her," I said, "because Isabella Thorne just made her first mistake." Leo raised an eyebrow. "She assumed I'd grieve quietly," I said. "She assumed I'd be too broken to ask questions. And grief doesn't make women like me weak, Leo. It makes us forensic." The State Corporation Commission website loaded slow. Each refresh revealed another piece Isabella had already moved. Business license transfer pending, new bank accounts opened, client contact lists updated. Leo sat at my kitchen table with his laptop, coffee going cold beside him. I stood behind him, watching the screen like it might disappear if I blinked. He pulled up filing records, business registrations, banking authorizations, corporate agent changes. Every click revealed something new Isabella had already set in motion. "She moved fast," Leo muttered. He pulled up a timeline. "Look, March 20th, the day after Uncle Edward died. LLC paperwork filed. New business accounts opened at Wells Fargo. Authorized signatory, Isabella Thorne, trustee." I watched the dates scroll past. March 21st, March 22nd, March 23rd. Each day, another filing, another transfer. Another piece of my life moved into her control. "She scheduled meetings with his top contractors," Leo said. He'd hacked into Edward's old business email using the password I gave him. "Look at this. March 24th, email to Davidson & Sons, ensuring operational continuity during transition, looking forward to maintaining our partnership." My hands gripped the back of his chair. "She's acting like she owns it," I said. "On paper, she does." Leo opened another tab. "But here's the thing, Aunt Helen. She made a mistake." He pulled up the original business transfer filing, the one dated March 18th, zoomed in on the timestamp. Filed at 2:47 p.m. Sialmakan, March 18, 2024. Signed affidavit attached declaring Uncle Edward's incapacity and authorizing immediate transfer of business assets. So look at this. He opened Edward's phone records. We'd pulled them from the online account that morning. March 18th, 7:30 a.m. to 8:02 a.m. Uncle Edward on a client call with Morrison Heating Supply. 32-minute business negotiation. Voice recording available through the company's call system. I leaned closer. He was conducting business. Sharp. Competent. Exactly. Leo pulled up the medical declaration again. But this document, filed the same day, claims he lacked capacity to make decisions. Which is it? Was he competent enough to conduct business negotiations or incompetent enough to require immediate asset protection? They counted on silence and confusion. Subscribe to see how she fights back with receipts. Not subscribing yet? Drop your hesitation below. She can't have it both ways, I said. She can't, and it gets better. Leo scrolled to another filing. The medical declaration certifying Uncle Edward's incapacity, signed and notarized at 7:43 a.m., March 19th, the day Edward died. He had a 7:30 a.m. client call that morning, I said slowly. Phone records prove it. He was on that call until 8:02 a.m., Leo confirmed, so either he signed this declaration while on a business call, or he never signed it at all. Leo looked up at me. Zara Jones needs to see this, because if Isabella forged that signature, if she backdated that notarization, if any of this timeline doesn't hold up, then it's all fraud, I finished. Federal fraud, Leo corrected. And we've got her on a timeline she can't explain away. Go public now or keep building evidence? What's your strategy? Comment. Public or stealth? I pulled out my phone. Call Zara, tell her we're coming to Norfolk, and tell her to bring her forensic tools, because Isabella Thorne just left us a paper trail she doesn't know exists. Leo smiled, grim, determined. Aunt Helen, we're going to bury her in her own documents. No, I said quietly. We're going to let the documents speak for themselves. That's colder. That's better. That's how you win. I looked at the screen. At Isabella's name on every filing, every account, every piece of my stolen life. That's how we win, I agreed. This isn't sloppy work, Zara said, tapping the signature with her pen. This is surgical, and it's not her first time. Norfolk. 3 days after Leo and I found the filing discrepancies, Zara Jones's office sat in a brick building near the waterfront, third floor, windows facing the harbor. Her conference room smelled like strong coffee and printer ink. Documents covered the table. Trust papers, business transfers, medical declarations, everything we'd collected. Zara was 42, sharp-eyed, the kind of person who saw numbers the way other people saw stories. She'd worked financial fraud cases for 15 years. Leo said she'd taken down 3 elder exploitation schemes in Virginia alone. She held Edward's signature page under a magnifying light. See this? She traced the ink with her finger, not touching it. Real signatures from people with essential tremor show these micro-variations, little shakes, inconsistent pressure. Your husband's genuine signatures from his business contracts? They all show it. She slid another page beside it. The trust document signature. This one, perfectly smooth, even pressure throughout. Digital reproduction, then printed and scanned to look authentic. Leo leaned forward. She forged it. She didn't just forge it. Zara pulled up her laptop. She created this trust document on a computer registered to her law firm. Metadata shows it. Created October 12, 2023. Edited 47 times between October and January. 47 times. Isabella had revised the theft 47 times before executing it. Zara clicked through screens. Witness signatures on the notarization? I ran them. Neither witness holds a valid notary license in Virginia. And the notary stamp itself? She zoomed in on the image. Registered to Beatrice Rowe, Richmond County. Retired in 2019. Dead in 2021. The room went quiet except for the harbor wind rattling the windows. She used a dead woman's notary stamp, I said. She did. Zara pulled up another file. And the medical declaration certifying your husband's incapacity, filed with a timestamp of 7:43 a.m., March 19th. But look at this. She opened Edward's phone records. Your husband was on a business call from 7:30 to 8:02 that morning. 32-minute conversation with a contractor about equipment pricing. I pulled the recording from the contractor's system. Edward was sharp, negotiating, fully competent. So he couldn't have signed the declaration, Leo said. He couldn't have signed it, and he couldn't have been incapacitated while conducting complex business negotiations. Zara closed the laptop. This is federal fraud, document forgery, identity theft, elder financial exploitation, and based on the pattern Leo showed me, 4 other widows in 18 months, this is systematic. I sat back in the chair. The harbor light came through the windows, cold and gray. What do we do? I asked. Zara slid a motion across the table. Legal paper, dense text, a court seal at the top. Emergency asset freeze. We file this in Richmond Circuit Court Monday morning, quietly. No press, no public spectacle. Just freeze every account, every property, every transfer Isabella's touched. If she tries to move $1 more after that, we'll know immediately. Will it hold? Leo asked. With this evidence, it'll hold. Zara tapped the stack of documents. Forged signatures, invalid notarizations, timestamp contradictions. She built this scheme on paper. We're going to bury her in it. I looked at the motion. Clean, precise, exactly what we needed. File it, I said. Zara nodded. I'll have it submitted by 9 a.m. Monday. Isabella won't see it coming until it's done. By the time she finds out, every asset will be locked. Predict. Will the freeze hold? Comment, freeze, or fight. The order went in at 9:03 a.m. Monday morning. Isabella wouldn't know until the banks called her Tuesday. By then, it would be too late to run. I found the draft tucked behind tax receipts from 2019, as if our values were just another line item to reconcile. Home office. Thursday evening. I'd gone back through the filing cabinet one more time, looking for anything Leo might have missed. Pulled out the folder labeled Estate Planning 2022, 2 years before Isabella rewrote everything. Inside, the original draft. 23 pages. Edward's estate plan before Isabella got her hands on him, before the gaslighting, before the manipulation. I read it twice. The language was clear, simple, direct. All assets transfer to Helen Sinclair, surviving spouse, with full discretionary control. No restrictions, no oversight, no managed care provisions. Equal partnership language throughout. Survivor controls everything. Then I found Edward's margin notes. Blue ink. His shaky handwriting from the essential tremor, dated August 2022. Helen built this with me. She gets everything, no questions. Another note, same page. She's smarter with money than I ever was. She'll know what to do. One more, at the bottom. 40 years together. She's earned every bit of this. She doesn't need protection. She needs freedom. My hands shook holding those pages. This was the husband I knew, the man who trusted me, who saw me as an equal partner, not a patient needing management. Then I found the second set of notes, different ink, black instead of blue, later date, November 2023. Isabella said we need protections in place. Memory issues can progress fast. She's the expert. January 2024. Helen forgot the anniversary dinner again. Isabella's right. I need to act now while she can still consent. The shift was right there on paper. Isabella's poison dripped into his thoughts, month by month, until he doubted everything he'd known about me for 4 decades. One forged line erases decades. Subscribe so you recognize manipulation before it's notarized. If you're still here without subscribing, tell me what's stopping you. I laid the drafts side by side. 2022 version, full trust, full partnership. 2024 version, managed care, protective oversight, incapacity language. 18 months between them. 18 months of systematic gaslighting that turned my husband's love into doubt. Leo found me at the desk an hour later, both drafts photographed and uploaded. You okay, Aunt Helen? I wasn't, but I would be. These prove Edward's original intent, I said, before Isabella got to him. Before she convinced him I was disappearing. Leo photographed every page, every margin note, every date, time-stamped copies uploaded to secure cloud storage by 6 p.m. This is evidence of coercion, he said. Shows Isabella's manipulation timeline, shows Edward's mental state before and after her influence. It shows he loved me, I said quietly, before she made him afraid. By morning, we had proof of Edward's original intent, evidence of systematic manipulation, a clear timeline of how Isabella rewrote our marriage, one margin note at a time. Which line proves intent? The original, Helen gets everything, or the manipulated managed care? Comment your answer. Isabella had spent 18 months rewriting our marriage. Now we'd rewrite the ending, but this version would stick, because this version was built on truth, not lies. On Edward's real voice, not Isabella's forgery. I framed the 2022 draft, hung it in the home office where I'd see it every morning. Reminder, this is who we were. This is what she tried to steal. This is what I'm taking back. The email subject line was one word, granted. I didn't cheer. I didn't cry. I exhaled for the first time in 2 weeks. Tuesday morning, kitchen table, Edward's coffee mug in my hand. I'd been using it every morning since he died. Leo called at 8:47 a.m. Aunt Helen, the court granted the freeze. Richmond Circuit Court. Emergency Asset Preservation Order. Approved. Every account locked. Every property transfer halted. Every asset Isabella had touched. Frozen pending full investigation. She can't move anything? I asked. Not $1. The order covers all bank accounts, investment funds, property transfers, business assets. If she tries to access anything, the banks will reject it and notify us immediately. I set the mug down. My hands were steady. When does she find out? The banks got notice this morning. First time she tries to access an account, they'll tell her. My guess? Sometime today. Relief mixed with exhaustion. We'd stopped her. Not reversed everything yet. Not reclaimed what she'd stolen, but stopped her from taking more. That felt like survival, not triumph, just survival. I walked to the mailbox after we hung up, Cool April morning, grass wet with dew, the neighborhood quiet. The mailbox flag was up. Inside, a glossy invitation, heavy cardstock, embossed lettering. Edward Sinclair Tribute Event, celebrating a life of service and community impact, hosted by Isabella Thorne and the Business Advisory Council. Saturday, vowed April 27, 7 p.m., Richmond Community Center. I read it twice. Isabella was staging a memorial, curating Edward's memory, displaying his life for public consumption, while locked out of the very accounts she'd stolen. The invitation listed her as event chair and estate administrator, still performing the role, still claiming authority she'd built on forgery. My name appeared once, small print at the bottom. Helen Sinclair, surviving spouse. Not wife, not partner, not co-founder of the business Edward built. Surviving spouse, like I was a footnote to my own marriage. Leo called back 20 minutes later. I'd sent him a photo of the invitation. "Are you going?" he asked. I looked at the glossy paper. Isabella's name in bold, mine in fine print. "Yes," I said. "And we're bringing a recorder." "Evidence collection?" "Evidence collection." I folded the invitation. She wants to curate Edward's memory while performing benevolence? Fine, let's see what she says when she doesn't know we're listening. Attend the tribute or avoid it. Comment. Confront or collect evidence. The tribute was Saturday. 5 days away. Isabella didn't know yet that every account was frozen. Didn't know we had forensic evidence, witness testimony, timeline contradictions. She thought she'd won. Thought she was memorializing the man whose life she'd stolen. Saturday, she'd perform for a room full of people who believed her narrative. And I'd be there, quiet at the edges, recording every word, because Isabella Thorne had rewritten my past. Now I'd document her present. The display case labeled Edward's favorite tools held a torque wrench I'd given him for his 50th birthday. My name wasn't on the card. Isabella's was. Richmond Community Center. Saturday evening. The tribute event. Leo and I arrived at 7:15, 15 minutes after start time. Stayed near the back. I wore black. Simple dress. No jewelry, except my wedding ring. Leo carried a small recorder in his jacket pocket, activated before we walked in. Isabella held court at the center of the room. Black dress, pearl necklace, receiving condolences like a grieving widow. She'd never even been to our house for dinner. Display cases lined the walls. Edward's life in business. Edward's community impact. Edward's favorite things. Every case told a story. None of them included me. The photos were cropped. Our wedding picture, just Edward, my half cut away. The business opening day photo, me edited out completely. 43 years of partnership erased with careful framing. The tools were reattributed. The torque wrench I'd given him, gift from the Business Advisory Council. His father's level that I'd restored, family heirloom preserved by estate administration. Even the stories were rewritten. A placard near the business display. Edward Sinclair built this company from nothing, with guidance from trusted advisors. I'd kept the books for 20 years, managed the Arlington properties that funded the startup, negotiated the lease on the first warehouse. Trusted advisors. That's what I'd become. Guests approached me throughout the evening. Contractors Edward had worked with, business partners, neighbors. Helen. "We're so glad you're well enough to attend. We heard you've been struggling. Must be hard. The estate administrator said you're in managed care now. Is that helping?" Every conversation confirmed it. Isabella had spread the dementia narrative publicly, told everyone I was incompetent, declining, unable to manage on my own. When they erase you publicly while stealing privately, documentation becomes weapon. Subscribe for the evidence no one expects. Still watching without subscribing. Comment your reason right now. I smiled, thanked them, said nothing to correct the record. Leo stayed close, recording everything. One contractor whispered to another near the refreshment table. We were close enough to hear. "When's the liquidation close?" Thorne said she'd have buyers lined up by May. Thought there was some holdup with the estate. "She'll work it out, she always does." Leo's hand tightened on my arm. Asset sale. Planned for May. Despite the freeze she didn't know about yet. Isabella posed for photos near Edward's portrait, the one that had cut me from the frame. Smiled, accepted sympathies, played the role perfectly. A young woman approached, mid-20s, Asian features, nervous hands. "Mrs. Sinclair?" I turned. "I'm Nina Sharma. I used to assist Ms. Thorne." Her hands shook as she pressed a flash drive into my palm. "Everything's on here. Meeting notes, client files, the real timeline. I can't stay, but you need to see what she did to the others." She left before I could respond. Disappeared into the crowd. The flash drive was small, black. A label in tiny print, "Sunday Signatures." Screenshot the phrase, "Sunday Signatures," in your memory. You'll see why it matters. I closed my hand around it. Isabella was still posing for photos, performing grief she'd never earned. But now I had her playbook. Every case, every widow, every Sunday she'd forged signatures in empty buildings. 7:43 p.m. every Sunday for 6 months, Nina read from her planner. Signature witnessed, building closed, no security cameras on Sundays, no principal ever present. Midlothian. Quiet diner. Off Route 60. Sunday morning, day after the tribute. Nina Sharma sat across from Leo and me in a corner booth, 26 years old, former junior associate at Isabella's law firm, dark circles under her eyes like she hadn't slept in weeks. She'd called that morning, said we needed to meet. Said she couldn't live with the silence anymore. Now she spread evidence across the table. Day planner, printed email logs, building access records downloaded onto a second flash drive. "I processed 4 cases before your husband's," she said. Her voice was quiet but steady. All the same pattern. Elderly spouse shows signs of confusion, or Isabella claims they do. She convinces the competent spouse to set up protective trusts. Schedules signing sessions on Sundays when office buildings are closed. Sundays, I repeated. Always Sundays. No security footage, no witnesses. She'd say it was for privacy, for dignity. The families believed her. Nina pulled up a spreadsheet on her phone. She'd bring documents to the client's home or office, but the principals were never actually there for the signings. Leo leaned forward. She forged the signatures. She had scanned signature files for each client, digital copies from earlier, legitimate documents. She'd paste them into the new documents, print them, then scan them again to make them look authentic. Nina showed us her planner, appointment codes in purple ink. Ice Sunday appeared 17 times between January 2023 and March 2024. As means Isabella's signings, Nina explained. I scheduled them, blocked the time, kept the building access logs. I didn't know what she was doing until I started seeing the pattern. She pulled up building security records on her laptop, the law firm's access system. January 15, 2024, the date on your husband's trust documents. She highlighted the entry. Isabella's key card shows entry at 2:17 p.m. But look at the building status. The security system showed building closed, Sunday, no HVAC, no power except emergency lights. No one else was there, I said. No one. Your husband wasn't there. No witnesses, no notary. Just Isabella alone, with pre-printed documents and forged signatures. Leo pulled up his own notes. The notary's stamp on Helen's documents, registered to Beatrice Rowe. Nina nodded. Died in 2021. Isabella kept the stamp, used it on all the Sunday signings. That's fraud, Leo said. Federal fraud. It is. Nina's voice cracked slightly. And there are 3 more cases just like yours. Clara Dubois, Martha Gable, Susan Holloway, all in the last 18 months. All their husbands died suddenly after signing over assets. All natural causes. The diner felt smaller, colder. You processed all of them? I asked. I did. scheduled the Sunday sessions, filed the paperwork, sent the trust documents to the banks. Nina looked at me directly. I didn't know what she was doing until after your husband died. When I saw the death certificate and the timeline, I couldn't stay quiet anymore. Is this enough to reverse everything? Comment, enough or keep digging. Nina slid her laptop across the table. Building access logs. Every Sunday signing for 18 months. Document metadata showing creation dates and edit histories. Email chains between Isabella and the banks. It's all here. Leo was already copying files. Why now? I asked Nina. Why come forward? She met my eyes. Because you fought back. The other widows didn't. They believed Isabella, signed everything over, accepted their managed care. She paused. You're the first one who asked questions. And if I can help stop her, I have to. I reached across the table, squeezed her hand once. Thank you. Nina gathered her planner and laptop. I quit the firm yesterday. Gave 2 weeks' notice, but I'm not going back. I can't. You're a witness now, Leo said. I know. Nina stood. And I'll testify. Whatever you need. Because what she did to those families, to your family, it has to stop. She left cash on the table for her coffee and walked out. Leo and I sat in that booth for another hour, going through files, building the timeline, matching Sunday signatures to building access logs to death certificates. The pattern was there, clear, documented, irrefutable. Isabella Thorne had built a scheme on empty Sundays and dead women's notary stamps. Now we had every detail, every case, every forged signature. And Monday morning, we'd show her exactly what happened when silence turned into evidence. Isabella's cease and desist letter arrived Thursday. Polished, cold, threatening. Our rebuttal was sharper and 3 times shorter. The letter came via certified mail. Leo signed for it at my door. 3 pages of legal language demanding we cease all defamatory communications and return all illegally obtained materials. Isabella's law firm letterhead. 2 attorneys' signatures at the bottom. She's scared, Leo said. He read it twice. People who have the upper hand don't send cease and desist letters. They file motions. We spent Thursday afternoon drafting our response. Leo at the laptop, Zara on speakerphone from Norfolk, Nina's evidence files open on the table. The rebuttal was 4 paragraphs. Attached, 147 pages of exhibits. Paragraph 1. Timeline of Isabella's documented fraud pattern across 5 cases, including specific dates, building access records, and forged notary stamps. Paragraph 2. Forensic analysis showing digital signature manipulation, metadata proving document creation on Isabella's laptop, and expert testimony regarding essential tremor signature patterns. Paragraph 3. Witness testimony from former associate Nina Sharma, including appointment logs, email chains, and Sunday signing protocols where principals were never present. Paragraph 4. 1 line. Silence was never surrender. Withdraw all claims within 72 hours or face criminal referral to the Virginia Attorney General's office and federal authorities. Never confuse quiet grief with weak resolve. Subscribe to see how silence becomes strategy. If you haven't subscribed, comment why you're waiting. Last chance to explain. Leo attached the exhibits, building access logs, metadata reports, Nina's day planner scans, Zara's forensic signature analysis, phone records proving Edward was conducting business when Isabella claimed he was incapacitated. Every piece of evidence we'd collected over 3 weeks, every contradiction, every forged signature, every Sunday she'd worked alone in empty buildings with dead women's notary stamps. We sent it 3 ways. Certified mail to her law firm, email with read receipt to her personal address, and courtesy copy to the Virginia State Bar Ethics Committee. Friday, 4:47 p.m. sent. Leo and I sat at the kitchen table afterward. Quiet. Exhausted. What happens now? I asked. She has 3 choices, Leo said. Withdraw quietly. fight and expose herself to criminal prosecution, or ignore it and hope we're bluffing. We're not bluffing. She doesn't know that yet. Isabella's response arrived 61 hours later, Sunday evening. Not 72 hours, 61. No apology, no confession, no admission of wrongdoing, just one paragraph. Ms. Isabella Thorne, through counsel, requests independent forensic review of all contested estate documents to ensure accuracy and transparency for all parties involved. Leo read it 3 times, started laughing. She just agreed to the audit, he said. Forensic comparison, independent expert, court-supervised review of every signature, every notary stamp, every timestamp. Is that good? Aunt Helen, she's done. He set the letter down. She just agreed to let a court-appointed expert examine the same documents Zara already proved were forged. She had no good options. But this is surrender with extra steps. Ever been told to back down? Then double down instead, if that's your style. The forensic review would take 2 weeks. Independent handwriting expert, court-supervised document examination, every signature compared to known exemplars. Isabella had 47 edits in the metadata, a forged notary stamp from a dead woman, building access logs that proved she was alone on Sundays. She just agreed to let someone else find what we already knew. And once the court saw it, there'd be no walking away quietly. The conference room held 9 people. Isabella spoke for 6 minutes about estate continuity. I slid one envelope to the person beside me. No words, just paper. Business Advisory Board meeting. Tuesday morning. Isabella had called it 2 weeks earlier. Before the freeze, before the rebuttal, before she knew we had evidence. The agenda listed one item: formalize estate administration and business transition plans. Leo and I arrived uninvited, walked in during Isabella's opening remarks, sat at the far end of the table. Isabella's face went pale when she saw me, recovered fast, kept talking. Edward Sinclair built this company with integrity and vision. As estate administrator, my role is to honor his legacy while ensuring operational stability during this difficult transition. 9 board members, contractors Edward had worked with for years, business advisors, the company's attorney, the warehouse manager. Isabella stood at the head of the table, PowerPoint presentation behind her, organizational charts, financial projections, proposed management structure. I didn't interrupt, didn't speak. Pulled a manila envelope from my bag and handed it to the contractor beside me. He opened it, started reading. Inside, 1-page summary. Key points, timeline, exhibits attached, forged signatures, Sunday building access logs, notary stamp registered to someone who died in 2021, 4 other widows, systematic pattern. The contractor passed it to the person beside him. Isabella kept talking. The transition plan ensures continuity of service to our valued clients while protecting the assets Edward worked so hard to build. The envelope moved hand to hand around the table. Silent. Each person read. Faces changed. Eyes widened. Someone flipped to the exhibits page. Isabella didn't notice. She was focused on her presentation, clicking through slides about quarterly projections and staffing plans. The envelope reached the board chair. He read it slowly, set it down, looked at Isabella. She finished her presentation. I'm prepared to answer questions and move forward with the transition vote. The board chair cleared his throat. Ms. Thorne, before we vote, several questions have emerged regarding document authentication procedures. Isabella's hands gripped the table edge. I'm sorry? Specifically regarding notarization protocols and building access logs for certain signing sessions. The room temperature dropped. I don't understand, Isabella said. Her voice stayed steady, but her knuckles went white. Sunday signatures, I said quietly from my end of the table. First words I'd spoken. Every single one. Isabella turned to me. I don't know what Mrs. Sinclair has distributed, but I assure you, the board chair raised one hand. Ms. Thorne, we're postponing today's vote. The board is requesting third-party forensic review of all estate documents and transfer filings before proceeding with any transition plans. You'll be notified of next steps. Silence. Isabella gathered her papers, closed her laptop. Her hands shook slightly. She walked past me on her way out, leaned close, whispered, "You'll regret this." I didn't look up, kept my eyes on the table. Sunday signatures, Isabella, every single one. She left. Door clicked shut behind her. The board chair looked at me. "Mrs. Sinclair, we owe you an apology. Several of us were told you were unwell, unable to participate in business decisions." "I'm well," I said, "and I'd like my company back." He nodded. "We'll need to review these documents, but based on what's here..." He tapped the envelope. "I think we need to have a very different conversation about estate administration." Strongest move in the room was silence. Agree or disagree? Comment your take. Leo and I walked out 10 minutes later. Didn't say anything until we reached the parking lot. "You know she's gonna fight," Leo said. "Let her." I unlocked the car. We have the paper trail. She has excuses. By the time we got home, the board chair had already called. Emergency meeting scheduled for next week. Full review. Isabella's authority suspended pending investigation. The envelope had done its job. Paper over performance. Evidence over excuses. Isabella could talk all she wanted. The documents spoke louder. No confession came. Just a law firm statement about protecting institutional integrity during transition. 1 week after the board meeting. Leo opened the certified mail at my kitchen table. Thursday morning. Coffee brewing. Spring rain tapping the windows. The letter was on Isabella's law firm letterhead. Not her signature, her senior partner's. Isabella Thorne is withdrawing as trustee and estate administrator, effective immediately. This decision reflects Ms. Thorne's commitment to avoiding any appearance of conflict and prioritizing client welfare above all considerations. No admission, no apology, no acknowledgement of fraud, forgery, or the 5 families she'd manipulated. Just legal language about avoiding conflicts and client welfare. "That's it," I said. Leo kept reading. "Interim oversight will transfer to an independent fiduciary appointed by the court. All estate matters will be handled through proper channels pending final resolution." Proper channels. Like she'd been following proper channels all along. "She's walking away," I said. "She's trying to." Leo set the letter down. "But this doesn't clear her. It just removes her from active management. The forensic review is still happening. The state bar investigation is ongoing. She withdrew before they could remove her." Made sense. Looked like it was her choice. Leave before getting pushed. A second envelope arrived that afternoon. Hand-delivered, no return address. Inside, 1 handwritten note, small, neat script, unsigned. "You were right to protect what mattered. He would have wanted that." I recognized the handwriting immediately. Nina Sharma. Justice doesn't always roar. Sometimes it's a signature withdrawing in silence. Subscribe so you see endings no one broadcasts. If you've watched this far without subscribing, comment now. What's your reason? Leo asked the question that evening while we sorted through Edward's business files at my dining room table. "Do you want to pursue criminal charges?" I held Nina's note. Read it again. "What would that look like?" "Full prosecution. Press exposure, federal fraud charges, financial exploitation across state lines. She could face years in prison." He paused. "And the other 4 widows would have to testify, relive what she did to them. Public trial, media coverage." I thought about Clara Dubois, Martha Gable, Susan Holloway, Diane Morales, women Nina had named, women who'd lost their husbands and their assets to Isabella's scheme. How many were still fighting? How many had given up? How many would want their grief displayed in a courtroom? "What's the alternative?" I asked. "Restorative approach. Focus on getting assets returned, names restored, legal corrections filed, Isabella's law license revoked quietly, Pattern documented so she can't do it again. Leo watched me. Justice without spectacle. I looked at Edward's photo on the desk, taken at the warehouse 10 years ago. Work shirt, tired smile, coffee mug in hand. What would he want? Pursue criminal charges or choose restoration? Comment, prosecute or restore? I want the assets back, I said. I want the business back. I want my name restored in every filing, and I want those other widows contacted. Leo nodded. Restorative over retributive. Isabella's pattern stops here, I continued, but quietly. No media circus. No public trial that forces those other families to relive their worst moments. Just make it stop. Make it right. He'd want you to fix it, not burn it down, Leo said quietly. He would. I folded Nina's note. And I want to help the others. The women she did this to before me. They deserve to know they weren't alone. That someone fought back. That there's a way to reclaim what was stolen. Leo made notes. I'll reach out through the court records, offer support, legal assistance if they want it. Use my resources, I said. The money Isabella tried to steal, some of it goes to helping the families she hurt. That felt right. Turn her weapon into their defense. Use what she tried to take to help others take theirs back. Justice doesn't always look like courtroom drama. Sometimes it's quieter, harder to see from the outside, but it's still justice. Just a different kind. The kind that rebuilds instead of just destroying. The kind that restores names and dignity instead of just punishing the guilty. Isabella would face consequences. Bar investigation, license revocation, civil lawsuits from the families, but those families wouldn't have to perform their grief for cameras, wouldn't have to watch Isabella's trial become entertainment. They'd just get their lives back. Quietly, completely. That mattered more. The file box smelled like basement storage and old ink. Inside, every draft, every margin note, every version of the life Edward wanted me to have. May now. 6 weeks since we'd filed the freeze. 4 weeks since Isabella withdrew. I spent that Saturday organizing everything into permanent archive. 2 copies, one for legal record, one for family history, original estate drafts from 2022, Edward's handwriting in the margins, trusting me with everything. Timeline of Isabella's manipulation, month by month, forensic reports, Nina's testimony, court orders, building access logs, every piece of evidence that proved what really happened. I worked slowly, labeled each folder, time-stamped each document, created an index. This was the truth, the version that wouldn't change, the version that couldn't be rewritten. When I finished, I drove to Richmond Courthouse, filed corrected deed transfers, business registrations, owner records, Helen Sinclair, primary owner, sole beneficiary, no restrictions, no managed care provisions, no trustee oversight, my name, restored. The courthouse clerk processed each filing, stamped them, handed me copies. "Welcome back, Mrs. Sinclair," she said. I drove to the HVAC company warehouse after. Edward's warehouse, our warehouse, mine now, late afternoon. Spring turning to early summer. The planters I'd installed years ago showed green shoots, bulbs I'd planted pushing through late frost. Proof that things buried don't always die. Sometimes they just wait. The warehouse manager met me outside, 56 years old, worked with Edward for 20 years. "Helen." He shook my hand. "Good to see you at the helm." "Good to be here." We talked expansion plans, new contracts, staffing needs. He had questions. I had answers. Turned out I'd been paying attention all those years. Turned out I knew this business better than Isabella ever did. In Edward's old office, I found something tucked behind a company ledger on the shelf. Sealed envelope, yellowed with age. I opened it carefully. Inside, estate draft, dated 2018, 6 years old. Before Isabella, before the manipulation, one line stopped me cold. Helen is my partner in every sense. If I go first, she carries it forward. Her way, her timeline, her choices. No one manages Helen. She manages the world. I read it 3 times. Tears came finally. First time since the funeral that I'd cried. Not from grief, but from this. From seeing his words, his real thoughts, before fear twisted them. What would you preserve for a future you might never see? Share one thing below. I copied the page, framed it, hung it in the warehouse office where contractors would see it every morning, where Edward's voice would stay present, not the manipulated voice Isabella created, the real one. That evening, I called the 3 other widows Nina had named, numbers from court records Leo had pulled. Clara Dubois answered first, voice cautious. Hello? Mrs. Dubois, my name is Helen Sinclair. I think we have someone in common. Isabella Thorne. Silence. Then, I'm listening. I fought back. I won. And I have her entire playbook, every trick she used, every document she forged, every timeline that doesn't add up. Why are you calling me? Because you're still fighting, and I have resources now, legal help, forensic evidence, everything you need to reclaim what she took. Clara was quiet for a long moment. She told everyone I was confused, that I couldn't handle the estate, that my husband wanted her in charge. She told them the same thing about me. She was lying. How do you know? Because I have the proof, the real documents, the ones that show what your husband actually wanted before she got to him. I paused. Let's compare notes, quietly. Clara Dubois said yes. Martha Gable said yes when I called her next. Susan Holloway's number was disconnected, but 2 out of 3 was a start. We'd meet next week, share evidence, build cases, help each other reclaim what Isabella stole. Her pattern was stopping, not with prosecution, not with headlines, with women sharing truth, helping each other rebuild, taking back what was theirs. That felt right. That felt like the ending Edward would have wanted. Not vengeance, restoration, not punishment, justice. They didn't applaud when I walked into the contractor meeting. They nodded, the kind of nod that means someone finally understands. First quarterly meeting. Helen Sinclair, owner, not surviving spouse, not incapacitated beneficiary, owner. I sat at the head of the conference room table, the one I used to set up for Edward's meetings, now mine, 8 contractors, business manager, warehouse supervisor. People who'd worked with Edward for decades. They acknowledged me, not with pity, with respect. The business manager presented financials, strong quarter, new contracts signed, expansion plans ready for approval. I asked questions, made decisions, approved the expansion. After the meeting, I walked outside. Early June air, warm, clear. I wore a small pin on my lapel, torque wrench, replica of the one I'd given Edward for his 50th birthday, the one Isabella had tried to claim as hers, reclaimed now, like everything else. Open sky above, cool breeze, company thriving, name restored. Cool air, open sky, the business built together now carried forward in her name, written in ink that couldn't be erased. What does it take to reclaim a life that's been stolen on paper? Share your thoughts. Tell me which chapter hit hardest. You're part of this community. Your voice matters here.